Welcome to the Existential Stoic podcast. Do you suck? Do you feel like you suck sometimes? Do you wish you didn't suck as much? Today, and look, because we're going to talk about how not to suck at life. I'm Danny, everybody. Randy, what's up, Randy?
Yeah, Danny.
Have you ever sucked at life?
Well, I mean, the clear answers to this question are clearly grind, have more Facebook friends and Instagram followers, and clearly buy at least a better car than your neighbor. I mean, those are the obvious answers to this one. But we're going to scratch below the surface.
Yeah, if you really want to be a winner and
Yeah.
do everything right. Yeah, so we each have a few tips for you. Hopefully this will help. I'm going to start. My first one is own it. Own your own life. Take responsibility. I think one of the worst things we do to ourselves, and in terms of sucking at life, is, this has happened to me too in the past, is when we start to blame everything else around us and never take any responsibility for ourselves. And a lot of times it's just because we're like afraid or, whatever, but, we're not living our own life then. We're kind of just, existing and blaming everybody else for our existence.
Yeah. This it's interesting you should bring that up because the whole like self-esteem movement, instead of actually helping with people's self-image, what it did was just create a bunch of narcissists who think there's everything's wrong with everyone else and they have no introspection whatsoever. So yeah, actually finding your own responsibility in it is quite helpful.
Yeah, it created a society totally turned deaf people.
Dude, right?
Like,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So my first one for how not to suck at life is put down your damn phone. Like
Hmm.
simple as can be, but it's really not. And everybody's like, but I can't. I need to be available to my boss 24/7. And in case my wife texts me, she needs to know immediately what I'm doing, where I am. I always need to be available for and it's like, put down your damn phone. You're not that important. Like I remember when I was
Yeah.
learning how to scuba dive a long time ago. There like the number one thing is there's no real emergencies. Like if you run out of air underwater, struggling isn't going to help you. Like and
Yeah.
then I worked in emergency rooms for 10 years as an emergency vet. And guess what? It's not going to help to be like, oh, emergencies. And really, there's no real emergencies because stuff that you can help, you help, and stuff that you can't, it's going to die anyways. So, like, people need to get over themselves. We're all going to die anyways. And put down the damn phone. As a matter of fact, one thing that I found very interesting because it bugged me for a while having a smartphone because I was like, oh, this thing's annoying, but I really need GPS. Like, I really need Google Maps.
Yeah, dude, Google Maps on the phone is so helpful. It's
I
like my
know.
number one reason for having one.
So I heard about this thing to turn your smartphone into a dumb phone, and it actually is pretty cool because I didn't really use my phone too much before, but now I definitely don't use it. So what you do is you turn your phone to grayscale because having your phone in black and white makes it a lot less addictive than in color. You take off all social media, you take off your web browser, and then you turn off all notifications.
Yeah,
And
that's the first thing I've always done whenever I get a new phone is I turn all my notifications off. Because like a lot of times when you transfer your stuff, they'll you know,
yeah,
come on or whatever the hell. So I
yeah.
just turn them, I have everything off. The only
I
one,
can't believe how often at the gym, like in the middle of a workout class, and somebody's watch beeps, and then they're standing there looking at their phone for 5 minutes while the whole class goes on, like totally oblivious to the whole world that they're in a
yeah,
freaking exercise class. They can't put it down for a half an hour.
no. It is funny though, and I think your examples are good though, because really, if doctors, if emergency room vets, if EMTs thought of everything as an emergency, they would be terrible at their jobs. They would be running around like chickens with their heads cut off, panicked, stressed. I mean, you would wear out super fast, right? So like it's a good example and a good way to think of it. Like how, get some perspective. How much of an emergency is this really? How important is it? Because things do happen that are important, but they're rare.
But
They're
there's
not all the
very,
time.
very few,
Yeah.
very few.
And when they happen, you'll usually find out about it. It's not like it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
like lots of people will be trying to contact you. It won't be like one person or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I like that. My next one is face your fears. Don't limit yourself. This is a hard one. I think we all struggle with this, but like we did an episode on this recently. I think, you know, you have to just like to own your life, you also have to face those things that you're afraid of and, try and live your best life. And I think, for a lot of us, it holds us back and we hold ourselves back. We're like the number one reason we're not doing what we want to do, living the life we want to live, and we make concessions that we don't really want to make. So face that stuff and start living how you want to.
Yeah, really. It's like the only person holding us back is ourselves. Nobody else is doing it.
It's
And we're
crazy,
just like,
isn't it?
oh, it's the world, it's them, it's yourself. And
I
it's your
hate that
fears. And
person.
fears, dude, fears are terrible. Like it's cool getting older because when you do face fears, you can look back and be like, holy crap, I was scared of that for so long and it turned out to be nothing. Yeah.
You just stop. I think too, for getting older too. I think you just stop caring as much too. Like
Mhm.
all those things that used to be seen like so important. I think for well, maybe not for everyone. For some people, they just start to seem so much less important. You're like, how did that ever bother me? Why did I care
Yeah.
about that? Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. So my next one, how not to suck at life, is sleep more. Now, okay, so like here's an interesting thing. So most sleep experts nowadays say, the ideal amount of sleep for a person is 7 to 8 hours a night. And it turns out that before electricity, which was like 100, 150 years ago, the average person slept 11 hours a night.
Well, because what were you gonna do? It was dark,
Yeah, but it's
and to
like,
have and light costs fuel. It costs money. It wasn't so
yeah,
easy to turn it on.
yeah. But it's like, if that doesn't tell you that we're meant to sleep a lot more than we're sleeping right now, I don't know what does. And honestly,
Yeah.
like, there's so many things that sleep does for you. They say that like if you don't sleep enough, you're more likely to eat way too much food the next day. You're more likely to be cranky. Your whole performance goes down. But like just try it on for a week. Like sleep an extra couple hours a day. And this is something that I've been doing where I intentionally go to sleep because like I used to have a set bedtime. And I would get into bed then, and then I would read a book, and it would be like an hour later, maybe even more before I would go to sleep. So now I just added an extra hour plus to that time. And it seems super early to be getting into bed, but now I'm getting a little bit extra sleep and I feel so much better in the morning.
Yeah, I get up early too, so I really don't care. I go to bed kind of early. I don't really, doesn't bother me. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
unless like, vacation or something, but that's different. If you're just regular routine, it's good to get the extra hours though. It does help a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And most people are probably dragging. My last one is keep learning. Don't stop. I think this is also one of the biggest things we do that's like a detriment to ourselves is we stop being curious about new things, stop exploring new things, and stop trying new things. Because, every new thing you learn, it's new perspectives, new skill sets, new things you can leverage, and it just makes you a better person, overall.
Dude, that's a brilliant one. So like learning is very, very important. And lots of people think like, oh, I'll just get the job that pays well and then I'll be done and that's it. But
Yeah.
like, okay, there's this guy, you might have heard of him. His name is Henry Ford. He invented
Oh,
a pretty
yeah.
popular
Yeah.
automobile brand. He said, if money is your hope for independence, you will never have it. The only real security that a man will have in this world is a reserve of knowledge, experience, and ability.
Ah, that's good. That's a good quote.
Yeah. Right. I read that the other day and I was like, yeah, like stop chasing money. All you need is knowledge, experience, and ability, which basically just comes down to learning and then just messing up until you get it right.
Basically. And he did. Did you ever hear that like project he did in South America with rubber, where he tried to
Yeah.
make like a little like town for a
Oh,
rubber
really?
plantation? Well, because he had like other people controlled rubber and he wanted rubber for his tires, so he tried to make a rubber plantation, but like made this like little Midwestern town down in the middle of like the jungle. It was a total failure. He invested tons of money into it. It was really interesting. Yeah, you should check it out.
Yeah. Dude, he was actually Edison was someone who supported like Ford wasn't sure if automobiles were going to work. He almost gave up on building a gasoline automobile.
Really?
And then and then he met Edison and he's like, that's brilliant. A car with its own power plant? That's genius. And then he went and he did it. But like sometimes it's helpful to have some support. And conversely, sometimes it's helpful to support people if they have good
Yeah,
ideas. Yeah.
it's true.
So my last one, how not to suck at life, is be compassionate with yourself. And this is something that I got from the Tao Te Ching because I forget exactly what they were. At the end of the Tao Te Ching, it was saying there's three things for life. There's simplicity, patience, and compassion. Those are the three things that you need to learn. And And so he goes on to talk about like simplicity, don't have whatever more than you need, patience, yeah, wait for it.
We all
But
know
then,
what it is.
yeah, but then he goes on to expound, have compassion with yourself so that you can extend that to the world. And I think that's a key because so often we're like force fed, yeah, you need to be compassionate with other people, be compassionate with people with disabilities, be compassionate with people who less than you, be compassionate with minorities, be compassionate with this and that, and all these other stuff. But it's like actually, it starts with being compassionate with yourself because if you are compassionate with yourself, that'll naturally extend to everyone else.
That's a really good one too, because if you can't be with yourself, you can't be really be with anybody else. You're going to have that same level of, anger, frustration is going to bubble up whether you like it or not, right? It'll just be like pretending. And I think that's true about everything. If you can't do it first with you, you can't do it with anybody else. So it's like, yeah, that's a great one. I think that's a good one to end on. So there you have it. How not to suck at life. Hopefully this was helpful. Check us out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a review. It's very helpful. We also have a little link survey in the show notes, and I think it's available online that you can check out. Please do that if you have time. We'll be back later this week with full-length episodes. Until then, though, later, Andy.
Later, Danny.